When you turn on your radio, by the time your ear gets to hear your favourite song in glorious left and right, you're mindlessly enjoying the end result of a huge journey that involves the tiniest of sounds and the hugest of egos. You see, musicians have to first work to capture these painstakingly honed individual sounds. Beats. Melodies. And only then can they attempt to mix them perfectly together to create the one community of stereo sound that modern humans call a song.
I'm Chelsea.
Chelsea Nichol is better known by her stage name Princess Chelsea. In a previous life, she was a member of the Brunettes, but nowadays she goes it alone, producing her trademark space pop.
I guess I make strange pop music, some people would think it was strange, that uses a lot of kind of orchestral or chamber instruments and then kind of old synth sounds, and the most recent album was mostly a synth album.
Back in 2012, Princess Chelsea's tune The Cigarette Duet went viral, as in over 20 million views on YouTube viral. And things have been going pretty well for her ever since. And part of her success has been enlisting her old partner in crime from the Brunettes, Jonathan Bree.
How it works is, initially it's just me, so once I've sort of recorded and arranged a piece of music, I then team up with Jonathan Bree, and he's kind of the one that I work with to finish the recordings and make them sound a lot better than I could ever do.
Released in 2015, The Great Cybernetic Depression is Princess Chelsea's second full-length release, and No Church on Sunday is the lead single off that album.
So this song is actually not written by me, which I'm not sure a lot of people know that, but it's written by my really good friend Jamie Lee. I was like, oh, that's such a great song, you should really do something with it. But she never really wanted to, that stage, record her own music. So she was like, I don't really want to do anything with this, do you want to use it? And I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to. What I've done with this song is just rearranged it, and so therefore it's quite fun for me to pull apart what I've done with it, seeing as it's not my song.
What's it about?
My friend and I were raised in a Christian religion, and then like maybe a lot of people do, we ended up sort of not continuing with that when we were teenagers. And the song's just about leaving your family and leaving a church and living in a gross teenage flat and having parties and feeling kind of a bit guilty and a bit freaked out, but you still remain resolute that you're doing your own thing, which in this case was not going to church on Sunday.
But what is it about No Church on Sunday that captures the synthy space pop sound that Princess Chelsea has become so famous for? How did she make sounds like these? And this one. And what happens when the number one sound inspiration of your hip electronic tune is Guns N' Roses? No, really, Guns N' Roses. To get the answers to our questions, we gave Princess Chelsea a large pot of tea and got her around a mixing desk to show us the anatomy of No Church on Sunday and what it is that makes this song so special. To begin with, should we start with the organ? Is that the best place to begin?
Yeah, I think so. It's the most obvious thing you hear first.
What is this thing?
Well, this is what I call my C organ. It's a soft synth patch. It's setting up a sense of mystery and sort of introducing the listener to the four chords which make up this entire song. It's the only thing it's got, is four chords.
So it was tambourine bizzo. So that's kind of kicking things off right from the beginning, yeah?
Yep, that's tambourine with a lot of slap delay on it.
That is ludicrous.
It's a very kind of 60s inspired thing, I think. Like a lot of Phil Spector kind of recordings would have tambourine like that.
What next?
There'll be a kick drum at the start. That should come in basically with the organ and the tambourine. So those are the first three instruments that come in.
There it is. This kick drum is singing a note.
Yep. There's probably 2 kick drum tracks. One will be like a kind of a melodic sample note, and then one's a real kick drum.
What about this though? Check this out.
Oh, the counter melody on Music Box.
So is that the counter melody to the vocals or to the synth?
To both, really. So you've got 3 sort of things going on melodically. You've got just pretty much the root notes being held down by this washy synth. Then you've got there's thunder in the hallway, which is the vocal melody. And then while I'm singing a shopping trolley, then you've got that melody coming over the top.
A shopping trolley in the bathroom.
So that's, I guess, a counter melody to the vocals. Yeah, I do love melody, and I love staggering and layering and canonizing melodies, especially when you have a song that only has 4 chords and you can do that.
And this feels like it's really pushing into that transitioning from childhood to adolescence sound. That's what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you think about it, I am a fan of pretty childlike instruments. There's a lot of bells and glockenspiels and kind of synthesizers that are pretty lame sounding in like a kid way, which I think sounds cool. Another interesting thing I'll quickly say is that when we were mixing this, we have this really cool program. It's an A/B program where a lot of the time when you're mixing, you'll use other things for reference. So we got all of these really big 80s stadium songs like Berlin, and like songs from Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusions 1 and 2, and Aha songs, and all these things that we thought sounded grand and big, and we used them.
So what? So you would play your song on B, their song on A.
Yeah, and flick between. And then we had like about 5 or 6 reference songs.
It's interesting, Chelsea, because listening to you, I wouldn't have said, now there's a tune mixed against Guns N' Roses.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like there's some big, for instance, Guns N' Roses, like November Rain or Estranged or Civil War, some of those really ridiculous cocaine-fueled power ballads that they did on those Use Your Illusion albums. I mean, they have pianos, they have synthesizers, they have guitars, they have big stadium drums. It's kind of funny, like.
And you were like, buying the CD and just comparing it's cheaper than going on a cocaine-fueled binge, isn't it?
Yeah, not as fun, but cheaper, yeah. So this is Jonny Bro's. He's got a nice Gibson bass. He's got a really good bass tone that sounds kind of like Paul McCartney. So that's just playing the root notes, which I like to keep bass lines super simple. At the end, it sort of starts playing more percussive stuff. Yeah, so it's still root notes. It's just playing more notes.
That feels good though, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good sound.
It's simple, but it's all you need sometimes when you have so much going on. Imagine if it was going do 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 do. It would just be like unnecessary.
This is a really interesting guitar. Tell me what's going on here.
Well, this is Jonny Bro. He usually uses tremolo and reverb and delay, which sounds like this is what it's got.
Tell us what tremolo is.
Yeah, it's kind of like vibrating or moving around the sound so that it sounds shaky-ish. Does that make sense? So it gives it this kind of slightly underwater sound even. Very 1960s sound, really. Like very surf guitar.
What's this other guitar thing here? What's this about?
This is... wow.
This is Guns N' Roses again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you like that kind of that overdriven thing?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to get him as much as I could to give it like a Slash-esque kind of sound.
And this is the badass synth bass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's when it starts to get a little bit awesome.
Tell me about this.
I've got these 2 synth sounds that I use all throughout my album, and I'm not going to tell anyone what they are because I don't want anyone else to use them.
That's how the global financial crisis happened. You know that, eh?
I know, I'm very selfish.
And what does this sound do?
It gives it it's pretty ominous synth sound, and live that synth can be really massive coming through a huge PA.
It makes you realise that this song's actually really badass too, doesn't it? All throughout all your work are just layer upon layer of these sort of soft, icicle-like.
Yeah, and this sound in particular, I probably would say it's my signature synthesizer sound. It was used on the first album and nearly every song on the second album.
What do you like about it? Why do you keep coming back to it?
I love the sound of it. I don't know why. It kind of sounds like a 80s kids movie in space.
What's this one around? Let's have a listen to this.
Classic, just normal synth bass arpeggiation.
Gosh, that sounds terrifying, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you listen to the song, it doesn't sound terrifying, but then when you start kind of picking out the bits, you get scared. Is this the sound of the Pope coming to get you?
Could be. It could be your guilty conscience.
True, that's the sound of a guilty conscience if I've ever heard one. Oh, let's talk about the drums, eh?
Yeah. So we're going for this 80s gated reverb sound on the snare. Yeah, we were listening to these big power ballads, like I said, to try and get this really ridiculous snare sound, which I think goes with the mix, with the guitars and the dreamy organ.
And then you got this other bit of drums going on here, which goes alongside the other drums.
Yeah, see, that's your toms, which is like gives it this almost tribal, scary sound, quite metal really, like quite Sabbath-esque.
So you really were going for I'm surprised how much you're going for that big rock thing.
Oh yeah.
Should we just finish off by having a look at some of the different vocal kind of elements?
Yeah.
Tell me about your voice.
I lost my faith in a moment.
Tell me about the way you sing. You sing like you're a child.
That's true. I don't know why I do that.
'Cause there ain't no church on Sunday for me.
I'm not like a super great singer, so like when I started recording first singing and stuff, I was just like, I guess I just sing normally without effects on my voice. I'm pretty much singing really simply, and that's kind of how I can sing. So I guess I'm just using what I have in the most interesting way I can think. And I guess part of the Princess Chelsea thing is like this juxtaposition of a childlike sound, like a lot of those bells and the vocals, and juxtaposed against these scary, like guilty conscience, synth bass lines and big drums and guitar, and that what makes it kind of confounding to some people.
So, after spending all this time creating and capturing these individual bits, what does Princess Chelsea think she's achieved when all these parts work together?
In some ways, what this song is doing is really just saying, what can you do with 4 chords repeating themselves? How many different melodies can you come up with and counter melodies, and how are you going to put them together? I kind of feel like a lot of my songs are just exercises in ridiculous arrangements, because a lot of my chords are very, very simple, much like this song, and then it's just playing with those chords and seeing what you can do with them. When you hear the song and you're not sort of analysing it, it doesn't come across as that crazy or that weird. But then when you listen to it, it's all of these different ideas kind of slapped together, and somehow we made it work.
And a big thanks to Chelsea Nicol. Anatomy of a Song is a radio adventure crafted by RDU, funded by New Zealand On Air, and produced by Rachel Morton, Jonny Pipe, and me, Spanky Moore. Thank you for listening.